inside college football. This is the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reid on 101 ESPN.
Full band is back together, not for the Missouri Tigers per se, but certainly in reference to your boys with the College Football Connection. Week number 10, gentlemen, it is all but upon us. Bradford Bruns, Marty Jenkins, Alvin Reid. Guys, we're back together. It feels so great. How are we today?
Just great. Marty, we're here. We had a question. Oh, what do we call the first ranking of that first 12?
Yeah.
We have to give it an official name, don't we?
You got me on the spot right now.
No,
man,
we couldn't come up with one.
The CFP rankings? How about that razzle-dazzle?
Yeah, exactly. We got to come up with something. All right.
That's what it is.
We'll work on that.
I'm going to marinate on that.
Marinate. We'll call it. We'll give it our own.
Something on which we guys, to begin this installment on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com, we must marinate because, as referenced, MU is in the bye. But for all intents and purposes, we have to say, as I did over last weekend on the College Football Connection Overtime Edition, all of those hopes and dreams, those aspirations you may have still possessed regarding the college football playoff, gone out in the wind in Tuscaloosa. Because not only did you get obliterated, you were non-competitive in a league road game again. Loss number 2, you're down to 6-2. A lot of SEC outfits have the 2 losses. But guys, with absolutely no certainty whatsoever regarding the health status of Brady Cook, among others, with over a week to prepare for OU, you don't have that many quality opponents left on the schedule, period. You have uncertain situations with respect to key personnel, period. And this campaign that began with so much promise, and I fully bought into it, as did so many in mid-Missouri and around the Estill region, it threatens now to conclude with so much more of a thud, a whimper, than the exhilaration that we had envisioned.
Okay, I think you're being a little too hard on Missouri.
Wait, am I?
Said the KU guy. All right. When you looked at the schedule, I said, what 2 games are they apt to lose? I said at Texas A&M and at Alabama.
Sure.
And those are the 2 games that they lost. Now, circumstances played them kind of a bad hand as far as the Alabama trip because of injuries, and we didn't know the second-string quarterback sucked as bad as he does.
Marty, you should have seen this coming, I guess. I don't know.
All right, but they got 2 losses. They need to win out. Oklahoma, I don't think, will put up much of a fight. Although Oklahoma has lost some games where they were in them. So, I don't know. But Missouri should win that game. Missouri should win all the rest of their games. And you just have 2 losses, and you play in a decent bowl game, and you just call it a season. I don't think it's the disaster that you guys are making it out to be. I didn't see them in the college football playoff. I didn't. Because I thought they would lose at least one game, but once they lost to A&M, I figured they'll lose to Alabama under any circumstance. So, that's what I thought they'd be at right now.
I think they lose at Williams-Brice. I think, South Carolina beats them. I'm more Alvin of, we know about the lofty preseason ranking. This is going to be it. This is going to be it. I understand they only have 2 losses. It's how they looked in those 2 losses.
Yep.
The deer in headlights situation. It makes me wonder, just how far off are they? And that's very concerning, I think. And I don't care if Chase Daniel was getting the ball last week. That was going to be a blowout regardless, I think.
I would
blowout.
Maybe. Okay, let's put it this way.
21 points.
Nothing was going on when he was in the game, and nothing continued to go on once he was out of the game. So it isn't like they had marched up down the field and missed a field goal or something like that, and then he got hurt. They weren't doing anything on offense anyway. So
shades of College Station.
Yes. I'm surprised they got shut out. It's hard to get shut out in a football game in college, but they got shut out.
First time in a few years.
Yeah,
and,
right.
You look at their over/under coming into the season, 9.5. The Alabama game don't bother me. It's that one in College Station. A lot of people had that as a win, and that couldn't have been further.
Well, doesn't what happened last Saturday in College Station change your mind just a little bit? Because they chased LSU right up on out of there.
They did.
LSU held the edge for the majority of that first half going into the third quarter. MU,
So they switched quarterbacks.
here's my primary conundrum. MU, before this season started, on the heels of that Cotton Bowl triumph over Ohio State, and I was exhilarated myself by that result, as were so many people, so many individuals in the fan base. You wanted all of that proverbial smoke, did you not? The catchphrases, the slogans, the mantras, STP, we're bringing back just about everybody, save for Cody Schrader and Darius Robinson.
Heisman
And
talk.
little did we know how much leadership was brought to the program from those two individuals. How else are you going to explain it? You have the bulk of your team captains coming back. You have offensive line continuity. You have a rising star on the defensive side of the football in Johnny Walker Jr., who was supposed to replace a Darius Robinson, maybe not in the leadership department, but in terms of sheer skill and athleticism, NFL-worthy talent. And the bottom line is that this team from the get-go, post-Murray State and Buffalo, you don't even consider right now those back-to-back shutouts to begin the campaign. It has just been flat. It has been flat even when the key guys were healthy, even when you had Cook there to sling the ball. And speaking of disappearing acts, I'm going to take a minute here to move away from my milk carton where I think Luther Burden III is located.
I don't know what was up with that.
What has been happening in the second half of that game? It was, I hesitate to say, competitive for a quarter and a half, because you had the feeling all along. You knew that the mobility for Cook, it was going to be compromised. Then you throw in the hand injury. Heaven knows what exactly the diagnosis is there. But the shoe was going to drop on the other foot because the defense wasn't going to be able to compete for 60 minutes, staying out on the field that entire time. And this Missouri defense under Corey Batoon, there has been a trend now, a habit in the second halves of games, immediately exiting from the locker room, leaving the locker room, going onto the field, and getting gashed on the very next drive. The momentum, it may well could have changed. It did. It was significantly altered when Drew Pine checked into that game and immediately hurled the interception.
Right. Well,
he was picked off thrice. You didn't stand a chance then. But to go out in Tuscaloosa with a whimper like that, you were shellacked by Texas A&M. It wasn't close. And then you were embarrassed by a pedestrian Alabama football team relative to its recent standards.
Well, I'll tell you this, Alvin, and people disagree with me on this because I've been rapping with people all week about this. This season's a disappointment, even if they go 10-2, in my opinion.
I hear what you're saying, but
what ifs.
But I a lot of what ifs. But I'm still holding on to the fact that I didn't have them, A, going undefeated, and then B, if there was going to be two games, those are the two games.
And see, I think you were the anomaly there. So consistency, yes, but how many people, Marty, I'm not saying the big national individuals, those experts and the pundits and so forth, but everybody in and around the program was stressing and emphasizing it. This was your year to make the move. Favorable schedule and all, returning starters, returning stars, and they just haven't lived up to the expectations.
I agree with that something has been missing in these other games. That, never mind the losses at College Station, at Tuscaloosa, the performance against Vanderbilt at home.
It's been up here.
You know,
it's been up here.
It's something, like we said, and I told you, like, he used the word, I didn't. But when the coach said internally.
Man, I remember that from 2 months ago.
I was just like, what? Internally? That means it's something going on. It's not on the practice field and not on the game day field. Something's going on in the locker room.
Good call.
Something's going on in the weight room. Something's going on somewhere that internally.
Something's going on.
Something's going on. So now.
And something was going on.
Something was obviously going on. Maybe it was just in their own minds. They knew they weren't as good as the headlines. Mm-hmm. That a couple times that, you start going over film of Vandy game. The reason Vandy's in the game is because guys are out to get whipped, on the line of scrimmage or something, like, no, that guy beat you. You're supposed to be better than he is, and he's opening holes, or he's in our backfield. Effort. Yeah, there's something going on where some of you guys just aren't up to the level of play that we thought that you were going to be.
It's like we've asked ourselves this a lot this year, I think. What's going on here?
Yeah,
something's off.
It just seems like something is off.
Yeah.
Something is off. And, the whole 3 catches for how many yards?
3 yards, Alvin.
3, yeah.
That math isn't hard. That math's little math.
More than that.
He picked up more yards coming out of the backfield.
I thought, what's that about? I mean, do some square outs, some square ins, a slant. I'll throw the ball to you. You catch it. Get some yards. You're supposed to be that good.
LB3, Exhibit A for the flurry of body language issues.
Yeah.
And it hasn't been just him this season.
Right.
There's problem. There's misnomer number one, and the lack of discipline. And those are the things, the habits that are instilled, and put into place before you even begin the season. It's been there all along.
And that's gone on all season.
Yes, it has been.
Stupid penalties, alignment penalties, things like that. That's been going on all year. And that's maybe, like I said, maybe that is some headline reading.
And
We are a top 10 team in America, and we're going to be a top 10 team in America, and we don't have to do anything except show up.
And at this point, when I got my pen and I'm looking at their schedule, the only dub I'm giving them is Starkville. Because I don't know what to expect. Oklahoma may beat them.
We have no idea what to anticipate, especially
Can't wait
if
to
Cook
see.
can't ultimately go. We know that.
I think Missouri got a break not playing this week. I think if they played this week and Oklahoma came in there and just like put 10 points on them, they might just fold.
Put the eulogy on.
Right. But they got a week to get it together.
Yeah.
You know, it's Oklahoma. We're going back in time. Game will be sold out. You know, they'll have a lot of, they'll have a lot going for them in that game. Namely, that Oklahoma isn't all that hot a team this year. So it is kind of like, it is a disappointment in how their season has gone along. But like I said, I just didn't see them with just one loss.
You had them
or
10
no
and 2.
losses. I had them at 2. Yeah, I had them losing 2 games. And remember I said that, and then they'll mess around. The Missouri thing would be to mess around, lose a game. I said Starkville with Mississippi State is god-awful. But that South Carolina game, now,
Speaking of South Carolina, the Gamecocks on the ledger for us this week, week number 10 in the College Football Connection. But we have to begin, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move away from the Tigers for right now, and let's go to the much ballyhooed matchup at Beaver Stadium. Marty, you have not been able to contain that enthusiasm early in the week. The number 4 Buckeyes traveling to meet number 3 Penn State. Right now, OSU has that edge, favored by 3.5 at last check. Over-under in this game, 46.5. In the days to come, though, we are going to be going back and forth and trying to speculate, trying to figure out what exactly will come to fruition on Saturday, because a key individual, the key trigger man for Penn State, Drew Aller, status in doubt.
Well,
game time decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah.
Classic.
You better lace them up. I mean, because this is the once in a. I mean, obviously you don't want to affect long term. The knee. I do not think he's going to play.
I don't think he's going to play either.
And this is a theme this weekend. Pittsburgh's quarterback.
Precisely.
The Hoosiers got to go to East Lansing. We'll get to that. That's like going to. It's always rainy there and Drury. Nobody wants to go there. But this game in particular, don't think he's going to go. Do you think he's going to go, Bradford?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I hope
actually.
he does, because I'm super hyped on this game.
It's going to be a Cook-esque situation. You have to forcibly remove him from the field, from the turf, to not go out there in the first place. Brace it up.
See, I would agree with that, but the knee just has me thinking he ain't going to go.
Try.
So other than Oregon, Ohio State, this is the game. I can't wait for this one. I think that Tyler Warren, tight end, guy to watch, I think he's going to have a good game. A lot of people talking about Ohio State's offensive line lately. The offense at times does disappear. I mean, I use the phrase all the time, it's going to be rocking. This whiteout, it's going to be rocking. I think Ohio State gets off to a slow start. I think that offensive line is exposed by Penn State's nasty defensive line. I just think this game's going to get off to a slow start. That's why I got the under in this one, and we're 48-47. I usually go the opposite way. But give me the 3.5 or 4 points wherever it's at now. I don't know what y'all got it at, but give me Penn State in the under.
I tell you what, man. I think I'm going to have to go with Ohio State in this one, partly because of the quarterback, even if he is playing. Maybe he's not as mobile as he used to be. I want to believe in Penn State. I want to believe that Penn State is going to win all their games. But if they're going to lose a game, it's this one.
Because Franklin can't win the big one.
Right, exactly. And it's at home. I know that, but I have to go with Ohio State, especially to cover 3.5 points. It came down 1, I guess. I like 3.5. I like Ohio State in this game. I do.
Ohio State, of course, with the 7 consecutive victories over Penn State, and so much talk swirling around whether this could be the opportunity for Penn State to break through. So much of it, guys, it does hinge for me on whether Aller is able to go and whether he can have any sort of a representative performance. Now, last weekend in that contest versus Wisconsin, Pribula came in and he had a very solid effort down the stretch, but that was at Camp Randall. That was against a pedestrian Wisconsin squad. If I'm looking for reasons, though, for optimism, especially considering just how stout the Penn State defense has been, Marty, you mentioned it. Ohio State, the top 2 left tackles right now. Both of those guys are dinged up, so Will Howard, watch out, and watch out even more so if you're not getting better, superior contributions on the ground from your twin top backs. Judkins and Henderson were especially mediocre. They were mediocre against Nebraska. And let's not forget that 1 week ago, the Buckeyes, they looked more than just normal to below average for long stretches of that game. They weren't crisp. They weren't clean whatsoever. So I do have more reservations, but the gut tells me here, with the number at 3.5 and with Aller's compromised condition, I'm barely liking the Buckeyes in the fourth quarter in that environment to be able to win by a tutty or so. But that 46.5 figure over-under, I'm definitely going way down there.
You going down or
I'm
up?
going under on that one.
Okay, both under. All right, so, and another thing I want to say is, speaking of can't win the big games, look over across the sidelines. He can't either, i.e. Oregon. And now this, and this is another one. I just think Franklin finally breaks through.
Must have it. Must have it.
Yeah.
Oregon as well. Number 1 Oregon, still undefeated, much like Penn State, courtesy of that 38-9 trouncing of the Fighting Illini. We'll get to them in a minute here on the College Football Connection 101 ESPN YouTube channel and 101ESPN.com. This time around, the Ducks are traveling to Ann Arbor, where Michigan is going to have to head back to Davis Warren for the 2nd consecutive week. It has been a carousel, if ever there were one, at the QB position this year. And just on Monday, guys, the 7th-year senior, Jack Tuttle, officially announced his retirement because not only was he dealing, afflicted by a concussion, he had surgery actually during the off season to try to repair an ulnar collateral ligament. So he's out. It's back to Warren for the 2nd or 3rd time this year. And it's interesting, though, because I'm not looking at this as a possible letdown scenario for Oregon. But 14.5, you still know what that atmosphere is, right? And the over-under is at 45.5 here. Now, Alvin, last week, Oregon was able to run away, quite literally, from Illinois early, the 35 first-half points. Looking like that well-oiled machine. Dylan Gabriel, arguably, I would say at this point in time, still the Heisman favorite because he is quarterbacking the number 1 team in all the land. Can Michigan get up for this test? Now at 5-3, can Michigan get up and compete into the second half to keep it within 2 scores?
Well, you're scuffling at home with Michigan State. Yep. And that's a big deal. I know I lived up there. I lived in Lansing. It's a huge deal. All right. That Michigan State, throw the records out. No, that's a cliche, but it's a for real thing. All right. But nonetheless, it looked like the same old Michigan kind of. And Michigan State had chances to win that game. I don't think Oregon is they ain't taking no prisoners, and they want to put a beat down on people. I think Oregon would like to leave itself in a situation to, let's say they blew one late, they'd still get into the playoff because they just ran roughshod over most of the Big Ten. That would include Michigan.
Yep.
Let's blast them like we've done everybody else.
They lose one, they're safe, I think.
I would think so too. But thumping Michigan would put the exclamation point on that.
Yes, and that would help immensely.
Yeah, that would help them. Absolutely. And, you're trying to win the conference, which obviously they're the front runner in the conference. I don't think that's, you beat Ohio State. And so it's your conference if you don't stub your toe. So I just think the 14.5, boy, that's a lot of points. That's a lot of points. But that being said, I think Oregon covers against Michigan. I do.
It was 21.5 last weekend. We said, yep, those guys will cover.
15 and a half down to 14 and a half. I got. What did you say you had it at? I'm sorry.
I got Oregon covering the 14 and a half.
And the over-under, I'm sorry.
I'm going with the over on that one.
Okay, over. Well, that makes two of us. Ducks and over. Barely got by Sparty. You know what I think we're looking at right now is Texas Longhorns Part 2. It's going to be a beatdown in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. See, I'm kind of with you in that.
48-7.
Yeah, I'm tired of saying these teams are going to put up a fight and they go out there and get their ass kicked. Missouri last week, a couple of others. Yeah, like, maybe I'm just giving these teams just a little too much. Yeah.
How much did they put up against Illinois in the first half? Was it 35?
I think it was 35.
Too much explosiveness with Gabriel and company. Boy, they're missing him and Norman. Holy smokes.
Excellent,
Say that again.
Excellent weather in Ann Arbor. Excellent weather at Penn State.
Did you get that East Lansing forecast?
Yes, I did. Because I just want to see if it's going to be raining.
That's what I was going to say. It's
Great
always
minds, great
raining
minds.
there, I feel
It's going to be in the upper 50s and partly cloudy, both places.
We will get to that game in East Lansing,
Yeah.
but Ducks and over.
All right. Gentlemen, all season long, I've been penalizing myself, flogging myself, one might say, with respect to UM and MU. And why not do so once again? I'll keep this one concise. I am staying away from the total in this tilt. But I will go with the two words, the one thing at which Eli Drinkwitz indisputably has still been proficient in 2024. Can you say backdoor cover in favor of the Wolverines?
Okay.
They cut it to 14 in the waning minutes of this ball game with the Alex Orgy special package.
Then you got to be going with the under.
I'm still not doing it. I'm still not playing in that sandbox. I'm not.
In that
The
game.
back of it.
Good.
Yeah.
I could go. Yeah.
All right.
And also, that could be true because we don't know who's going to be playing with 7 minutes left in the game.
We do not.
I'm not having Gabriel, anybody out there. We got 3 touchdown lead. They're done. It's getting late in the season now. Just it'd be stupid to get anybody hurt.
Right.
And we're up 3 touchdowns. So you're very right. Yeah, they get a late one. It's 14. They cover.
Conversely, I think all of us would agree that the next game on our schedule, also keeping it in the Big Ten, Illinois and Minnesota, likely to be uber competitive well into the second half. You have Minnesota playing well, now up to 5 victories on the campaign. Great quarterback play from Max Brosmer. He passes the eye test and then some. Illinois, we've already established, lost hard just a week ago. Did not slip out of the top 25, not quite, still at number 24. Over-under in this contest currently set at 45 and a half. Now, last week, Luke Altmaier knew that he was going to be facing a bear of a test there in Eugene. And he wound up actually throwing more interceptions in that game, too, than he had in the previous 7 games combined. He also watched as one of his stud receivers and stud offensive threats in Pat Bryant left the game. Illinois is a little dinged up. Illinois is a little wounded, I would say, in the pride department. But is this team for Brett Bielema going to be reminiscent of the 2022 squad that got off to a very quick start, only about halfway through the schedule to lose 2 straight in Champaign? Similar set of circumstances here, or do you see that mental resolve and the toughness that has been indicative of Illinois all year? How Illinois in this game, still guys, how Illinois is not the favorite, but rather an underdog by 3? That's shocking to me.
I agree with that.
At home.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I'm like that was that's what looking at that like that threw me off. In that
It was like last week we were talking about the Duke SMU, right?
Yeah.
Like, what,
really
this line?
right
11 and a half?
right
Yeah.
and as we said like SMU, won that game. Should have lost, right? But hey, won the game. I don't know.
I'm very intrigued by this.
I'm very intrigued too. And the game's at Illinois, and I know Illinois, people say this, Illinois is not a place that just thunders, like you're fearful of playing in Memorial Stadium in Champaign. But I think Illinois covers that. I mean, we're talking about they lose by 2 points, they cover. Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Illinois covers that.
It took me a while on this one. But that defense for the Gophers, and they're going to bring down some fans, by the way.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah. That defense is like 11th or 12th in the nation.
True.
feel like they always just got a solid program down there. Haven't busted through yet, but they're always solid. And I think it's going to be a long day for Altmaier, and I think Brosmer and Darius Taylor are going to have a great day. I think also mentally, you talked about it, that Oregon game, I think they get out the gates slow, Illinois. I think there's a little bit of a hangover from that. But we'll see what happens. I'm very interested in this one, but I got to take the Gophers. I think that the Gophers win this game comfortably.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think it's under. I think it's going to be one of those affairs. Let's see, 45.5, I think it's going to be a boring game. I think it's going to be a defensive affair, and I got to go with the Gophers and under.
I think that these two teams are also going to slog through it, if you will. It will be not exactly the most aesthetically pleasing affair in Champaign. But let's not kid ourselves here, guys. Last week, even the most diehard Illinois zealots out there looking at you, Tanner Hendrickson of BK and Ferrario fame on 101 ESPN, you knew that you were going to head to Autzen and you were going to fall. It was probably not going to be close whatsoever. Everything, though, still remains within reach. It remains within your grasp, and you have a legitimate chance as of yet of still making it to 10 wins. Yes, I will say it, for the first time since the Sugar Bowl season well back in the early 2000s. How is this team going to respond mentally to being taken down and really taken down for the first time this season? The 2022 squad was more, I will say, mentally fragile, I believe, in that regard. More star power, perhaps, but the fragility was there. I don't see that. I don't see that from this brand, this iteration of Illinois football. So I will go with the Illini to win this one by close to double digits, but the overall score, 45.5. No, Illinois all season. I'm not playing that game that I did early on and trying to flirt with the over. No, it's still under there because of the defenses on display.
I'm going with the under also on that one. Okay. And I kind of feel like you do, in that the under won't be coming to play, because the score will be, 22-21. I think the under will come into play because they'll win that game 21-10 or something like that. But what has Minnesota's offense actually been bringing that would make them a favorite over anybody on the road?
Pounded Maryland. Pounded.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get it. So we'll see.
Speaking of the Illini, favorable schedule rest of the way.
Exactly.
And heading into the season, I think their over-under was 4.5. 5.5. They are overachieving. They bring a lot back. So I think that's a program heading in the right direction.
I would think so too, but Illinois is one of those year-to-year teams that, from being out there and covering them, just because of that, I follow them every year. And like the year they're supposed to be good, they're bad. The year they're supposed to be bad, they're good.
Right.
The team I saw early in the season, week 2, I didn't think would win that many football games, so they've proven me wrong. I didn't think they could go to Nebraska and win a football game, and they did, so I give them credit. I didn't think they could hang, with some of the game they lost at Penn State.
Yeah.
The late interception and touchdown, that's a 7-point game. And I didn't think they could do that based on what I saw earlier in the year. So they're improving, and that's why I think what happened last week was just last week.
I think he's a great fit, though, in Champaign. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do, until he's not. Until they fall face of earth, and then they said, "Oh, we got a guy with no personality. We need somebody." Oh man, you know how fans are.
They're playing for him now. They're playing exceptionally hard. The Illini on the ascent, as are the 13th ranked Indiana Hoosiers. Baby Marty, favored by 7.5 this weekend against downtrodden Michigan State, as we're blitzing here on the College Football Connection, 101ESPN.com.
Marty, did you see the pregame at the stadium at Indiana?
Bloomington?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. I've never seen it like that.
Hey man,
they had the towels waving. These people were fired up, and they went out there and took care of 60 minutes of football. I think Indiana's got something going on this year. I do. And I think Michigan State's going to find that out up there in East Lansing.
Without question, Marty, Curtis Signetti at the helm of the program has something going on. Let's give this man his appropriate dap in the moment. 8-0 start for the second straight year at a different program. First coach to ever do that with 2 different FBS programs. And for this weekend, I'm fairly certain, after what we saw last weekend, after the absolute demolition of Nebraska, with just how well-oiled this offense and the defense, too. Let's give some respect to that side of the football, too. irrespective of whether Curtis Rourke can go in this game, and he wants to be a champion. He wants to display that incredible heart. He had a thumb procedure just last Monday. Now, David Jackson was okay. They didn't necessarily need him last week. What will the Hoosiers do in this environment? It's still difficult to play Sparty on the road, but as we saw last week versus Michigan, this is a deplorable offense, and it gets even worse inside of the 20, Marty.
Well, yes, that's all true. What do you guys have the over-under at? I'm sorry.
51.5.
Okay,
All right.
51.5. Now, Jackson, Rourke, in this situation, I think, as opposed to Aller, I think Rourke will play. Okay? You got to go there on the road. You mentioned Michigan State, non-existent offense. But what I'm looking at is they only gave up 31 in Eugene. Okay?
That's true.
They gave up 31 points in Eugene.
Pretty impressive.
And that kind of stuck out to me. And I'm just saying, like, I don't see the Hoosiers putting up more than 31 with that quarterback situation being in doubt. I think the defensive line for Michigan, if they can hang their hat on anything, it's that. And I think going to East Lansing, we cannot overstate. I'm not going to overstate. You can't say it enough. Things happen there. It's just, it seems like it's always raining. It's not going to rain this time.
Judge be beautiful weather. Sorry. Beautiful weather.
Across the country, it continues.
Hey, I'm sorry. I think this is going to.
Savor.
I think it's going to be under 51.5. And folks, you want that plus 300? I think they may win. That's me.
All right.
All right. So give me Sparty in the
Yeah.
under. I think they're going to win the game, and I think the Hoosiers, the party comes to an end. Although the party will never come to an end in Bloomington, but because that's arguably the best college town in the country.
I think you were going along the lines here. You were operating in a very Anthony Stalter-esque vein because you're giving it the reverse jinx, I believe, the old reverse jinx. I see. I'm on to you here, and that's okay. I'm on to you. That's all right. Give me the under in this game as well, because I do think that to some extent the Indiana offense, whether Rourke starts, if it's Jackson again, will be more disjointed than usual in that atmosphere. 51.5 seems like a big number to me.
Me too. I'm going with the under, but I am
Under.
getting Indiana.
Me too.
All
Me
right.
too. 7.5 right now. Yep. Indiana maybe by double digits again. Let's swing it right back to the SEC, where Texas A&M, number 10 Texas A&M, favored by just 2.5.
Yep.
2.5 going into the other Columbia, South Carolina. Marty, South Carolina has had an extra week to prepare after that victory, and an authoritative one at that, versus Oklahoma. Yet, I cannot stress enough how impressive that performance was at Kyle Field last week. And Alvin, we were together obviously last week, and I've been on the LSU train, and I was adamant, hey, LSU can go to College Station, not only compete, but figure out a way to get it done. And for 2 quarters, it looked pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Then what happened? Well, it wasn't the effectiveness of one Connor Wigman. Oh no, the sensation versus the Tigers a few weeks ago. He's pulled from the game after going 6 of 18. The moxie, the intestinal fortitude that it took for Mike Elko to make that decision and go to Marcel Reid. He ignites them with 3 second-half touchdown runs. However you want to slice it, Texas A&M can slice you up on the ground. The athleticism of Reid, I'm not sure if it matters who's starting right now at
I
quarterback.
was just going to say that.
I give credit to South Carolina.
I don't think they've announced a starter either.
No.
Right.
And both could play, and both
Both
could
could play, yeah,
valuable
like I say.
reps. 2.5 right here? You're telling me that A&M can't win by a field goal? No, thank you. Yeah, give that to me.
I'm going to take that also. I will tell you this, that South Carolina, when LSU went to South Carolina did everything but win the game. All of a sudden, LSU came alive and just owned the last 10 minutes, but South Carolina still could have won in the waning seconds of the game. They can be tough there in the other Columbia, all right? However, I think Texas A&M and Elko know that, all right, the object of this game right here is just to win it and keep progressing and get to that championship where we could win the SEC championship.
Very viable.
So if it was more than 2.5 points, if it was more than a field goal, if we were talking 4 or 5, I'd probably go with South Carolina. But 2.5 means, I think, what am I saying? Texas A&M can win that game by a field goal. So I am going to go with Texas A&M. I'm going to give the 2.5 points.
Now, Marty, because of the degree to which Reid or Wigman may or may not be utilized in this game, too much uncertainty for me to mess with the total of 44.5.
I'm the
but
same
I'm
way.
intrigued by you. I'm intrigued by you here.
I've been strong this year on my locks of the week. Last week it was the Dukies. Boy, that game was something else, by the way.
That's about 3 games in one.
I know. Listen, this is one of the best defensive lines in the country. They're very stingy. I don't think there's going to be any slicing and dicing in this game. I think they are going to show up, and they're going to have some hangover from last weekend too. And I think this A&M offense is going to have a long day against South Carolina. And it's on the road too. Lock of the week. I think the under, and I think South Carolina wins outright.
There you go. All right.
All right. 80 degrees and sunny in Columbia, South Carolina.
80 and sunny here too, I think.
Yeah, I think it is our last go around. Yeah.
5 games down, 1 to go. Blitz variation of the College Football Connection on 101ESPN.com and that 101 ESPN YouTube channel. Gentlemen, maybe we saved the best for last, or one of the more enticing matchups at the very least, because undefeated Pitt. Boy, it's been a long time since we said that this late.
It was funny 2 weeks ago. I forgot. 2 weeks ago, I was going to say, does anybody realize that Pitt is undefeated?
And now number 18.
I was going to say the same with Army.
Right. Because I saw that, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Pitt did lose a game. And they damn near lost first week like they always do. I forgot who that was, West Virginia or somebody. Remember, they almost lost. Yeah, they almost lost week 1.
Backyard brawl, I think.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of like, I just wasn't paying any attention.
Yeah.
And they're still undefeated. So
we're paying attention now.
Yeah, I'm paying attention now. I think they're going to pay attention to SMU running up and down the field on them this go round. Quarterback being hurt, that's obviously that's making a play, probably in the point total also. But I like SMU back at home. They, overcame a big time challenge, down there in Durham, and just a wild game, So I like them at home. I like them at home to cover.
I'll have to take a deep dive into this one, Marty. The last time any program, FBS, FCS, Little League football, lost the turnover battle 6-0 and still emerged victorious.
It won.
That's what happened versus Duke. Now, did SMU dodge that bullet last weekend, or are we beginning to see some signs of coming back to the pack? Pitt, most assuredly, is 7-0. SMU 7-1, entering the fracas here. Now, SMU at number 20, Pitt at number 18. But Alvin, as you said as well, Pitt has its own signal caller conundrum here because Eli Holstein is injured. Pitt, the coaching staff, unsure if he's going to play at this juncture. But, Marty, I have to be honest with you. There's not a lot of sympathy coming from my end when you are running up the score on Syracuse and he's getting hurt on a designated quarterback option run in that contest.
Last week, I saw that. That's just crazy.
Yeah.
Listen, I agree with Alvin on this one. I think this is going to be, I don't know if you said blowout city, but I think it's going to be blowout city. I don't think they're going to be able to stop SMU.
Yeah, and I got the over on this one too. And you got it at 59.5 still?
I do, and I have the under because the quarterback situation, I don't think Pitt, despite, what they've done thus far this season, I don't think the signal caller is going to go.
I just think there'll be so many offensive plays in this game that'll end up being an over because I think SMU is going to score a lot of points.
Yeah.
Now, by a lot, I mean, maybe in the 30s. I don't think they're going to beat them 56-10 or whatever. But I think they'll have enough, and Pitt will score some points because they're going to be losing. They're going, the game, script is just going to be we're going to have to pass the ball. I don't care who's out there throwing it. We're going to have to pass the ball. And I wanted to check and see where the game was being played, too, because they're getting behind SMU down there. I had said about there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of people who still are butthurt over that whole death penalty thing, and they're still around. Eric Dickerson still talks about that. Like, he still goes to SMU games.
Yeah.
And the other part of the Pony Express, was it Myers, Dickerson, and I can't think of that. They still, like, when you ask them, they say that was the beginning of the end of the NCAA. We hate them. We hate it. We're just right. People still got like these hard feelings, and like SMU gets good again. I mean, it's that NIL. Like, these people will be behind SMU football.
Give me 1 second. I want to put the bow on this one for me. I'm taking SMU and the under. But if somehow Pitt wins this game, then we got a party crashing situation. I mean, because that would be something else if they win. Now, back to you real quick. I think in a couple years, you may have mentioned this. I can't remember from last week. They're going to be a powerhouse.
Yeah, I think so too. Because
they lining up, you said.
Because I think there's enough talent, and I'm stating the obvious. Texas, Oklahoma, around there, that we don't have to be in the SEC to put a team out here that can win a national championship. What's the key to that? You got to have a quarterback. You don't think SMU, that's where that money going to go.
The Mount Rushmore booster is probably number one.
Right. I said, that's where the money's going to go.
Can you slide a little of that over to Columbia quarterback-wise next year? Sorry, I digress.
No, right. And, wait, a point I wanted to make about Missouri, though. Missouri's still in the top 25 at number 25. Okay?
I know. I lied to the people last weekend on the overtime edition. Rest assured, Mizzou, you don't have to worry about the top 25. How does that happen, and how do the coaches still have them at 23rd?
I have an explanation for that. You can't throw Missouri out yet because you need Alabama to have a victory over a top 25 team to keep alive their hopes of getting into the CFP.
I like it.
Oh, wow.
I like the rationale.
All right?
I do.
I think because if you throw them out, all of a sudden you blew out a team that ain't even ranked. Who cares? So, but now they have a shutout over a team that's ranked in the top 25.
Good point.
In other words, in any event, you're saying get familiar with Gerald Ford Stadium.
Yeah.
Because in Dallas, hey, that is a heck of a lot more of an alluring venue right now than the professional product that we're seeing in Big D.
Absolutely.
Oh, let's not go there.
Oh, I mean, as a fan, go there. Go there. And College Station, way down wherever it is, people love Texas A&M. People love, Texas and Austin. But Dallas-Fort Worth, baby. I'm telling you, they like to look at those teams and say, oh, no, there was a time, buddy, when y'all was watching us. And I think they want to bring that time back.
And they think about it all the time.
They think about it all the time.
And they're not going to rest well until that gets settled.
Right. There's a lot of kids around that Dallas-Fort Worth area said, hey, if SMU was some good, I'd go to school there.
Right.
Well, now they're good, and they're going to have that money flying.
2 years, powerhouse.
2 years. 2 years. Get a quarterback.
Revisit this, boys.
Get a quarterback.
ACC comes alive to make it official. Marty, by the way, SMU with the points here. That is an ominous over-under for me, though. I'm taking it under 58.5 for SMU and Pitt.
I'm going to go with the over on that. Like I said, I'm still sticking with the over. I think this is, like you said, SMU. They're looking at that film and said, we would have beat them by 25 points if we just hadn't fumbled 6 times, made 6 turnovers. If we had 3 turnovers, we would have scored probably 14, 17 more points. We win.
Yeah.
And that final score for Pitt against the Orange as well, very deceiving insofar as 3 pick sixes accounted for Pitt getting into the 40s. When are you ever going to have that?
In the first half.
Yes.
It's unreal.
But that was unreal. They said, what in the first half? I couldn't look. I know they're college kids and all that, but boy, that would take the steam out of you. If you're playing defense for Syracuse, you're probably thinking we're losing 21-0, and we haven't done anything.
No.
We don't have. You're looking at us and man, y'all got beat bad. And no, the offense got beat bad.
Well, we have blown through both halves here on the latest installment of the College Football Connection, week number 10. Gentlemen, always appreciate anybody and everybody tuning in, watching, consuming our product on the 101 ESPN YouTube channel, as well as 101ESPN.com. Some big weekend plans on tap as well for one of us here in the house as well, right? Yeah.
Hey,
road trip bound.
Road trip.
Hey, we're going to Indy. We're taking our beautiful 7-year-old daughter to Taylor Swift.
Man. All right.
Hey, we're hyped.
All right.
The GOAT.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Can't deny.
Real quick, I will tell you that they came here, but I had 4th row from the stage.
What year was that?
With Miley Cyrus. Remember that?
Okay.
Miley Cyrus and the Cheetah Girls were here. And I took my little daughters.
So Hannah Montana.
Right, she was still Hannah Montana.
Okay.
This was her last concert, where she was Hannah Montana.
Yeah.
And she had the flu and gutted it out and did a great concert. Real? She would leave the stage and and throw up and came back out. We learned just a true star. But anyway, I have never heard anything like that when the lights went down for that concert to start. Oof. And you have a bunch of I think I had a 9 and a 7-year-old at that time. And
you'll never forget
that shrill would have shattered glass. I will never forget that. So get ready. Get ready.
It's going to be a good time.
Yep.
Can't wait.
That's
There you
cool,
go.
Marty. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Marty, throw out that X handle for the audience. We're looking to up that record well above 500 this weekend.
Marty, 101 ESPN.
A Reid, Jayhawks, the A, and the R capitalized.
Marty Jenkins, Alvin, Reid. I am Bradford Bruns at Game of Bruns. Gentlemen, next weekend, MU back in action. What will we have to preview? Who's going to be available for the game versus OU? And are we going to be talking about the Buckeyes or the Nittany Lions looming just behind the Ducks for number 1 overall in the country? All of that is on tap and more. Thank you, as always, for listening, for watching. And until next week, take care, everybody.
You've been listening to the College Football Connection podcast with Marty Jenkins and Alvin Reid on 101 ESPN Sports Talk for St. Louis.